Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. When a woman decides, not just wants, but decides to walk strong in the divine signs God places before her, the game changes. I'm talking about a woman who doesn't just pray pretty words on Sunday, but walks with purpose on Monday, Tuesday, every day. You see, God's signs ain't there for decoration. They're divine instructions. And when she follows them, something shifts in the atmosphere. That kind of woman is dangerous. Dangerous to doubt. Dangerous to fear. Dangerous to anything trying to pull her from the path God placed her on. Because He's with her. Every step. Every breath. Every battle. When she walks in divine alignment, she don't need to beg for protection. She's already covered. She doesn't have to chase blessings. They chase her. Because obedience always activates overflow. You ever see a storm coming and the wind just parts around a solid tree? That's her. Grounded in God. Winds of life can blow. People can doubt her. The enemy can try. But God shields her. She don't need to shout her worth. He already crowned her. She don't need to fear the dark. She's her light. And when she walks through the fire, she don't come out burned. She comes out brighter. See, the world wants her to shrink, to dim, to walk like everybody else. But nah, she walks in divine rhythm, different, set apart, favored. And let me tell you, favor ain't fair, but it's faithful. When she walks in God's direction, He handles the correction. When she follows His signs, He multiplies the results. When she trusts His path, He secures the promise. So if that's you, if you're that woman, keep walking. Even if it's lonely, even if it's heavy, even if nobody understands, God understands. And when He sees you walking bold in His signs, He says, "That's my daughter." Creates, aligns, and positions every detail for a reason. When a woman begins to see her life through the lens of divine design, she realizes that nothing she's been through, no detour, no delay, no disappointment, was ever wasted. Every sign she ignored taught her to listen more. Every nudge she followed opened a door that had her name written on it long before she even arrived. Sometimes divine signs come softly, a word in prayer, a moment of peace that makes no sense. Other times they roar through her life, disrupting comfort to activate calling. And the more she leans into them, the clearer they become. It's not about being lucky, it's about being led. When she walks with her spirit tuned to God's frequency, even the smallest detail becomes a direction. The delay at the airport, the job she didn't get, the stranger's kindness, the closed door, all signs, all divine. And when she trusts that, when she learns to move not by sight, not by fear, but by faith in those signs, she doesn't just walk, she walks strong. She doesn't wander aimlessly, she walks with divine confidence. She understands that her steps are ordered, not optional. Her path is prophetic, not random. Because with God, nothing is accidental and everything has meaning. Walking in faith is a daily decision. It's not a one-time choice made in a moment of inspiration. It's a commitment renewed every morning, sometimes every hour, especially when life tries to shake your confidence. Faith doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in the tension between what you see and what you believe. A woman walking in faith doesn't always feel strong, but she trusts the one who does. Each day, She wakes up and says, "Today I choose to trust God again. Today I choose to walk forward, even when I can't see the whole path." Faith is tested in the waiting, in the silence, in the setbacks. It's easy to walk in faith when the skies are clear and the blessings are visible. But what about when prayers feel unanswered? What about when doors close, when people leave, when dreams seem delayed? That's when faith isn't a feeling, it's a decision. A woman of faith doesn't let fear take the driver's seat. She might cry, she might wrestle, but she still walks. She still believes. Not because everything makes sense, but because her trust isn't rooted in circumstances, it's rooted in God's character. This walk demands discipline. It means feeding her spirit with truth, guarding her mind from lies, and choosing to speak life even when her heart feels heavy. It's waking up with battles and still putting on the armor of God. It's walking into rooms where she doesn't feel qualified, but showing up anyway because she knows who sent her. Faith isn't just a moment, it's a movement, a rhythm, a lifestyle. And every single day she makes the decision to keep walking, to keep trusting, to keep moving forward, even when nothing around her changes. Obedience unlocks protection. It's more than just following rules. It's positioning yourself under divine covering. When a woman chooses to obey God's voice, she places herself directly in the path of His provision, His defense, His direction. Obedience isn't always convenient. It doesn't always feel good in the moment. Sometimes it means walking away from comfort, letting go of control, or choosing silence when every part of you wants to speak. But obedience isn't about what feels good. It's about what's right. And what's right will always lead to what's safe. Safe in the arms of a God who sees what you cannot. There's a protection that only comes through alignment. Not everything that threatens you can touch you when you're walking in step with God. A woman who obeys isn't weak. She's wise. She understands that obedience builds a shield around her that no enemy can penetrate. It blocks traps she never saw, redirects her from disasters she never knew were ahead. Her faith inspires her to fight for truth. Her love compels her to fight for equity. Break the curse. Her most precious child will never be separated from her. And that's true that those two deserve each other way more than you ever could. God doesn't ask for obedience because He wants control. He asks because He wants to cover. And His covering is not passive. It is active, powerful, intentional. When a woman chooses to obey, even in small things, she builds a life that hell cannot shake. Her obedience becomes her defense. She doesn't have to fight every battle. Many are already won in the secret place where her surrender meets His strength. This obedience leaves cracks in the foundation, but obedience, it fortifies, it secures, it surrounds. And the more she obeys, the more she hears. The more she listens, the more clearly she sees. She stops second guessing because she knows her yes is not to people, it's to God. And in that yes, He moves. He protects, He goes before her, behind her, and all around her. Her strength is her submission to God. It's a paradox the world often doesn't understand. The world tells her to fight for control, to be independent, to assert her will at all costs. But God tells her something different. He says her strength lies in surrender, her power in her humility. A woman who submits to God doesn't give up her power, she amplifies it. When she lets go of her need to control every outcome, she amplifies it. When she lets go of her need to control every outcome, she amplifies it. When she lets go of her need to control every outcome, she amplifies it. When she lets go of her need to control every outcome, she amplifies it. When she lets go of her need to control every outcome, she amplifies it. When she lets go of her need to control every outcome, she amplifies it. When she lets go of her need to control every outcome, she amplifies it. When she lets go of her need to control every outcome, she chooses to trust, to rely, to lean not on her own understanding, but on His. Submission to God isn't weakness. It's a fierce kind of courage that says, I may not know how this is going to work out, but I trust you. It's knowing that God's plan is always better than her own, even when it doesn't make sense. Her submission is an act of faith, a daily decision to let God lead when everything inside her wants to take the reins. But in that letting go, she finds a peace the world cannot give. The battle that once felt endless now feels light because she knows that God is fighting for her. Submission doesn't mean passivity, it means alignment. It's choosing God's will above her own, even when it's hard. It means saying yes to His timing, trusting His direction, and resting in the assurance that His ways are always higher. And in that obedience, she grows. In her submission, she rises. The strength she displays is not her own, it's His. And that strength is unshakable, unbreakable, and beyond anything the world can offer. The more she submits to God, the more she stands firm. Her strength is found in her surrender. Favor follows alignment. It's a principle that can transform a life if understood and embraced. When a woman aligns herself with God's will, favor isn't something she has to chase. It follows her. It's like a magnetic force that draws the blessings and opportunities she needs because she's positioned herself in the right place, at the right time, under the right direction. Alignment is about syncing her actions with God's purpose, her heart with His heart, and her plans with His plans. It's not about perfection or never making mistakes. It's about constantly returning to the path God has laid before her. When she aligns with God, her decisions start to reflect His wisdom. Her steps are ordered, not scattered. The doors she needs to walk through open with ease, and the doors that would lead her astray close with grace. She doesn't force things, she trusts the process. She knows that when God is in control, everything falls into place, even when it doesn't look like it. Favor is the byproduct of trusting in the divine alignment. A woman aligned with God finds that favor is not based on her credentials or her status in the world. It doesn't matter what others think or what qualifications she lacks. Favor finds her because it recognizes that she's walking in God's will. She walks with purpose and poise, knowing that the universe bends in her favor when she is surrendered to God's plans. Her alignment doesn't just impact her, it overflows into every area of her life, her relationships, her career, her health, her finances, all begin to align as well. Favor follows because she is aligned with the one who can orchestrate all things perfectly. Courage is required to walk differently. It takes strength and bravery to choose a path that others might not understand or even support. Walking differently means stepping out of the comfortable, predictable, and familiar. It's choosing to go against the grain, to take a stand for what's right, even when it feels like you're standing alone. It takes courage to trust God's direction when the road looks uncertain, when the world tells you to follow the crowd, and when doubt whispers in your ear. But it's in those moments of courage, those moments when you step out in faith, that true transformation happens. A woman who walks differently doesn't blend in. She refuses to settle for the ordinary or the safe. She follows a higher calling, one that requires her to step outside of conventional norms and societal expectations. It's a path paved with trust, with conviction, and with a deep knowing that her life has a purpose far greater than mere survival. She knows that her purpose is not to conform, but to shine brightly, even if that light makes others uncomfortable. Walking differently isn't always easy. It means standing firm in your beliefs when the world tries to shake you. It means having the courage to say no when everyone else says yes. It's about making decisions that may not be popular, but are necessary for the fulfillment of your destiny. The road may not always be smooth, and the path may not always be clear. But courage doesn't require clarity. It requires faith. It requires trusting that even when you don't know where the journey leads, you are following a path designed for your greatness. And in that courage, you will find the strength to walk differently and to walk boldly. Spiritual discernment is her compass. It's the gift that allows her to navigate life's complexities with clarity, to distinguish between what is of God and what is not. In a world full of noise, confusion, and distractions, discernment becomes the quiet whisper that guides her decisions, her actions, and her path. It's not about relying on her own understanding or trusting her emotions, but about tapping into a higher wisdom that aligns her steps with divine purpose. Spiritual discernment helps her to see beyond the surface, to understand the heart of a matter, and to recognize the truth, even when it's obscured by circumstances. A woman who walks with spiritual discernment doesn't make impulsive decisions. She takes her time, listens to the stillness of her spirit, and seeks God's guidance before moving forward. In relationships, business, and everyday life, her ability to discern the right opportunities, the right people, and the right choices protects her from harm and leads her toward blessings. It's the divine radar that warns her of danger and points her toward the right path. Discernment isn't something that can be rushed or forced. It's developed through intimacy with God. The more she spends time in His presence, the clearer His voice becomes. The more she reads His word, the sharper her spiritual senses grow. When she trusts her discernment, she becomes confident in her decisions, knowing that she is aligned with God's will. Even when things don't make sense in the natural, she has the peace of knowing that her spiritual compass is leading her in the right direction. With discernment, she moves forward with faith, trusting that the Holy Spirit will guide her every step of the way. God fights her battles. This isn't just a comforting phrase, it's a powerful truth. A woman who walks in God's will doesn't have to fight every battle herself. She doesn't have to argue, manipulate, or strive to make things happen on her own. There's a divine power that rises up within her, a shield of protection that surrounds her, and a force greater than anything she can imagine, standing between her and every enemy, seen or unseen. The battles she faces, whether they be in her personal life, her career, or even her health, are not hers to fight alone. God, who is greater than any weapon formed against her, fights for her. When she faces challenges, she doesn't have to carry the weight of the fight. Instead, she places her trust in God's ability to handle what she cannot. She knows that He goes before her, that He is her defender, her advocate, and her strength. Even when the world seems to come against her, she stands firm, knowing that the Creator of the universe is on her side. This assurance doesn't lead to complacency or passivity. It empowers her to move forward with boldness, with faith, and with the peace that comes from knowing God is handling what she cannot control. God fights her battles in ways she may never see or understand. Sometimes He fights through others, through people he sends to support her, to speak truth into her life, or to open doors she couldn't have opened on her own. Other times, he fights in the spiritual realm, dismantling strongholds and uprooting the things that would try to destroy her. Her role is to trust and to stand firm, knowing that the victory is already hers, because God has never lost a battle. Divine timing over human rushing. This is a lesson in patience, trust, and surrender. It's understanding that God's timing is always perfect, even when it doesn't align with the speed at which we want things to happen. In a world that constantly urges us to hurry, to achieve quickly, and to take the next step immediately, it's easy to forget that not everything is meant to happen in our time. Sometimes we feel the pressure to rush, whether it's in our careers, relationships, or personal goals. But rushing often leads to mistakes, missteps, and missed blessings. God's timing, on the other hand, is intentional, precise, and far better than anything we could orchestrate ourselves. A woman who embraces divine timing understands that delay is not denial. She trusts that God has a plan for her life that is unfolding exactly as it should. Even when things feel like they're moving too slowly, she holds on to the faith that God is working behind the scenes, setting things in motion, and aligning the right people, opportunities, and circumstances for her at just the right time. She knows that rushing won't speed up the process, and forcing things won't bring true success. It's in waiting and trusting that she finds peace, knowing that God is never late, and He's always on time. That she submits to divine timing, she gains perspective. She realizes that some things are being prepared for her, and other things are being prepared in her. The growth, the lessons, and the maturity that come during seasons of waiting are just as important as the answers to her prayers. In the end, she will look back and see that every moment of waiting was worth it, because divine timing never disappoints. The enemy fears her alignment with God, because when a woman is aligned with her Creator, she becomes an unstoppable force. It's not her strength alone that makes her dangerous. It's the power of God that flows through her. No weapon formed against her can prosper, no obstacle can stop her, and no lie can shake her foundation. She is anchored in truth, led by divine wisdom, and protected by God's might. This alignment is a supernatural protection. It's not just about what she does in the natural, it's about the authority she carries because she's walking in obedience to God's call. When she moves in the power of God, the enemy can't predict her next move, and he can't stop her momentum. He fears her alignment because she is no longer moving in her own strength, but in the strength of the one who holds all power in his hands. She becomes a threat to everything the enemy wants to accomplish in her life, in her family, and in her community. The enemy has no control over her when she is aligned with God. He tries to sow doubt, confusion, and fear, but she stands firm, knowing that her alignment with God is her greatest weapon. She has access to the wisdom, the power, and the guidance of the Almighty. This is the kind of woman who doesn't just fight her battles, she wins them. And the enemy knows it. When she aligns with God, she is a force that cannot be reckoned with. That's what the enemy fears. Her legacy is built in obedience. It's the quiet, often unseen decisions she makes each day to align her life with God's will. Obedience is not just about following instructions. It's about trusting that the path God has set before her is the one that will lead to true fulfillment, purpose, and impact. Her legacy isn't built on wealth, popularity, or status. It's built on the foundation of her willingness to obey. even when the world around her offers different paths. It's in the small, seemingly insignificant acts of faithfulness that her legacy takes shape. A woman who chooses obedience leaves a legacy that stretches far beyond her lifetime. She may not always see the full picture, but with each step of obedience, she plants seeds for future generations. Her decisions, her faithfulness, her willingness to follow God's guidance, even when it's hard, create a ripple effect that impacts her family, her community, and the world around her. What she does today can inspire those who come after her to walk in the same strength and faith. Obedience is an investment, and like any investment, it grows over time. The legacy she leaves isn't just in what she accomplishes, but in the way she chooses to live. Faithfully, humbly, and obediently. Those who come after her will look to her example, seeing the fruit of her obedience and realizing that it's through obedience to God that lives are changed, destinies are fulfilled, and hearts are transformed. This is the legacy that lasts, one built on the steady, consistent commitment to follow God's voice, no matter the cost. And it is in this obedience that she leaves a mark on the world that no time or circumstance can erase.